don't know. We're here.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Welcome again. We haven't been here for a while, so welcome back. We're Frights.
Well, part of it.
Part of it.
Part of
Frights.
A small fright, if you will.
Not a Nick Cage, long legs kind of fright.
A more manageable.
Yeah.
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah, like, boo.
Oh.
We're Frights. We're a band. I'm Josh. This is Simon.
Hello.
The ever elusive Matt is not here. And we've been away, haven't we?
We have. Not doing anything exciting.
No,
Not away on tour, not away.
we're just taking a break.
Yeah,
Oh, we've done something exciting, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
I mean, if you read the description, you probably know. Yeah, so we're a band and we're figuring out how to have a sustainable artistic career in this age of what was the word? Consolidated audiences? Is that what the word you used?
Oh, that's
last
what
night?
this week when we've been talking about
Yeah.
what it means to have shrinking audiences.
Yeah.
Consolidated
Consolidated, yeah.
audiences.
Yeah.
A
Shrinking
few-
is not a nice word because everyone's still listening to music. They're just not listening to the
Well,
same music.
That's right. There's a few big players that have big audiences.
Yep.
And the little players with little audiences are having littler audiences.
Yep.
It's a metaphor.
Uh-huh.
Well, I mean, it's a reflection. It's a reflection of the general state of the world.
I just realised what would be nice to talk about in our big discussion. Consolidated audiences.
Something we've done absolutely zero research on. So let's talk about it.
Oh, we're not going to do it necessarily today, but I wanted to write
There'll
it down.
be time for research.
Yeah.
There's always time for
Always time.
research.
So we're taking you guys through the journey of creating a band and the work that we have to put in to do that on a sustainable level, and we are far from sustainable. I would say
Oh no.
we're flying in the opposite direction at the moment.
Well, yeah, but with
intention. Yeah, with intent.
There's very good reasons for it, and it's part of building things, right? That you need that initial pulse,
Yep.
where you've got nothing coming back.
Yep.
And
I think I look. I've been feeling quite positive about it, to be honest. Like even
me too.
Like I kind of most days I'll wake up and be like, man, this is kind of exciting, this thing. And there's no way to gauge when the sustainability will be there, but I think it's about I think our goals that we've set around intention and proficiency, building proficiency, are kind of really working, and mentally for me it's been really helpful because I've been feeling like I've actually been achieving stuff. And I think objectively we've been achieving stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Which, has been nice. So that's what we're taking you on the journey through is building this sustainable artistic career with intention. And the part of the process we're in at the moment is building proficiency part. And we're kind of building proficiency in what we're doing here with the streams. And we're also building proficiency with our music making as well, and how do you present that to and figuring out how to present that to the world in a realistic way, rather than trying to kill ourselves with all the work. I'm talking about killing ourselves with too much work, not just flinging ourselves off a cliff.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah, and to be compelling as well.
Yeah. Which is hard.
It's hard as if you're trying to figure it out after the fact. I think it's much more manageable if it's planned, right? So that's part of all of this is we are keeping ourselves accountable and putting a lot of the behind the scenes planning
on the table.
On the table, yeah, front of mind.
Well, that's something I can talk about right now. We've just been literally in the last kind of a little bit yesterday and a little bit this morning working on a new job tracker for ourselves, basically, like to help structure our weeks a bit better, so that we can easily get into these streams and some of the other activities that we want to do, because we're doing this around other jobs, and at the moment, and trying to maintain that engagement is difficult when you don't have a plan. So we've been building a new tool that we'll use ourselves that we've used in the past in other things, that adapting it to what we're doing now, that will hopefully help us continue that proficiency growth. Yeah. So we had a break and now we're back. And during that break, what happened?
I got very muddy. I went camping.
Oh, yes.
That's not what you mean.
No.
We released a thing. We released a track.
We did release a track,
which is exciting and fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's our first track.
Yep.
It's now on the Streamy Boys.
On the Streamies, yeah.
And we had to do a lot of sort of coming to grips with what it meant to release a track.
Not even that. It was just the process was
process was hideous.
Excessive. Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
But we, in talking about what it means to have these goals and to be kind of mindful about what's possible and realistic, we've still done zero audience building, and so to release a track without an audience yet felt kind of counterintuitive, but also was a bit necessary. Because there were these basic things like claiming a name on streaming services. How do you do that? You need to have at least a track up. So it became, well, do we do some little half-assed little thing as the first track? Do we just release a track that we really like and just know that, well, it's probably not going to have as much of an audience as it can? Do we try to build up an audience based on them having nothing to listen to and then release the track and give them something? We had to navigate all these options and make decisions about what the best would be. And what we landed on was this idea of, well, we'll just release a good track, get it up there, know that it's going to not be featured on any new release playlists, come to terms with that, use it to claim all the names and the artist pages, build an understanding of what it looks like to change artwork, to do things like upload lyrics, because we were going in knowing that these things have a time to go live, but not really feeling it in our bones for what that might be. And so we went through all that and pulled our hair out.
We pulled our hair out quite a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, but now
not in a like a necessarily a frustration wave for me, but I think
why is it like this?
Why is it so difficult? Yeah.
But what it means now is that we've got a baseline. We know what to expect, and we know what it means to have our ducks in a row.
Yeah,
we didn't know that before.
No.
We may have been able to make some assumptions, but we didn't. But realistically, we didn't know. Now we do. We are now informed, and
somewhat. There's still a lot more to do. I'll tell you that.
We're more informed than we were before.
Well, do you want to start? Well, we can play it premiere, so to speak, even though it's already out on the streaming services. A bit of a premiere, and then we can get into the nuts and bolts of putting it out.
And we'll see if
we're going to find out something else right now too, which is
will YouTube pick up the copyright?
will it kind of turn our stream off? So we're gonna see that. So if we disappear, we will be back. So let's see how this works.
From yesteryear in those early mornings. Yeah, I'm still mourning. You still feel your presence, so infinite, so present. You filling all the space between my ears. Draw it up, draw it up. Your plan to move on. Hold it up, hold it up. Memorize it.
Always had to leave, never choose to stay. Oh, yesterday. My mind tends to replay yesterday. All the yesterdays.
There we go.
That was all right.
That was Only Yesterday by us,
By Frights.
Frights,
The band.
the band. So that's our first track out. A little bit of an interlude-y, soundy thing, quite cute, kitschy, and
Yeah, nostalgic-y.
nostalgic-y.
Throwbacky.
Well, I mean, the original name was not so nostalgic, so
Well.
but we changed that for marketing purposes.
Yeah. And for thematic purposes.
Correct.
Because it fit in with the overall
Even though
little
the
meta-narrative.
even though the lyric is over yesterday's in there for whatever because that's what Brie originally sang.
Over yesterday.
Over yesterday. That's what she sings.
Oh. Well, I didn't know that.
No, but I'm playing a card where you change the meaning by just changing the name of the song, and I kind of like that.
It's not our fault the singer sung it wrong when they invented the lyric.
No, Brie did good.
Can't
It
be
was
held
good.
responsible for that.
No, but I kind of like it anyway. I liked playing around with that particular thing,
Well, I heard it as Only Yesterday.
and that's fine, and
Okay.
everyone else will too.
Well, I feel silly now.
No, don't feel silly. It's this is the trick with lyrics, man. They
It's the magic.
like what was that
The Niles.
you know the American Boy song, the Kanye West and American Boy, American Boy. I always thought that had a lyric in it where it's like let's get freaky or something, like, and it's not that at all. It's something completely not that, but it's so intentional that they wrote it that way for it to sound
Okay.
the way that I hear it.
Mm.
You know, sex themes and things like that. You know, getting jiggy with it themes in a pop song.
He's got his mind in the gutter,
I always have my mind in the gutter.
but he's looking up at the stars. Anyway.
Oh, I have a comment. I'm not going to say it. Anyway, so let's talk about the hard and fast crap that you've got to go through to release a song.
Okay.
Well,
Strap yourself in.
yes, this is a roller coaster.
Mm.
So I mean, we previously on the streams talked about the distribution services and picking one that suited our needs. We ended up going with Two Lost, one of the newer players in the market, which is still owned by the founders and has a real artist focus, which is something that I'm very attracted to, because it's not about, for them, yeah, it's about building a brand, but it's also about building trust with their audiences, and their audiences are us, basically. And the other big ones like CD Baby and DistroKid, even though they seem to work just fine for releasing stuff, are now owned by bigger companies, no longer owned by the founders. So there is this kind of risk that using those platforms means that you end up in this kind of corporate bullshit, and we'll have to change a bit earlier than expected. So we decided to kind of take a risk on one of the newer platforms, and it seems to be quite a good. It's got quite a good UX and
Good analytics
UI,
stuff.
and yeah, we haven't looked at the analytical stuff yet, but by all reports, the reports are pretty good. So we released on that, and the uploading process and the kind of information input process wasn't difficult. There were things that threw me, like some things that I didn't understand what they meant, but Two Lost has a really good FAQ user guide. So as I was going through the things that I didn't know about, I found out about pretty quickly and what that meant, and if we needed to worry about them at a particular time. The other thing that Two Lost does, and I'm sure some of the others do as well, but Two Lost has a lot of information about it. There was, certain things you could update post-release, and some stuff that you couldn't. They were clearly outlined in the guides, which really helped out, because there were things that, like, we had placeholder artwork, for instance. We hadn't finished the artwork when we wanted to get it up, get it pushed out to distribution, because it takes, I think Too Lost has like a 7-day turnaround for Spotify, but it can take up to 3 weeks for all the aggregators to get it on all the distributors, all the aggregators, I should say. So we wanted to get the track up pretty quickly so that we could start this process of claiming the names and claiming the artist profiles and things like that. So it was important that we got it up quickly. So finding out what we could change later and what we couldn't was a really useful thing. That process was pretty quick. I think ultimately, once you popped it together some quick artwork, and I think it took all up maybe 30, 45 minutes total to kind of get it through that Too Lost system, which will get quicker. This was because I was slowing down and doing it in bits and pieces as we were kind of going backwards and forwards.
So from having the finished track and artwork sitting on a folder in your desktop.
Yeah, about 30, 45 minutes.
To getting through that process of filling in all the form work and uploading it.
It would be quicker if you knew the format. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you'd done it once or twice, you'd be able to do it in like 15, 20 minutes. If you had all the information in front of you, which, was another part of me doing this process, because I was like doing a little template-y thing in our release.
So that we can document it for ourselves.
Yeah, so that we can have all the information captured ahead of time. Having everyone's writing names and stuff like that was kind of one of the, those kinds of information were important. I actually been listening to tape notes, speaking of that, and I was listening to the Kenny Beats, Benny Sings one, and Kenny was talking about how he labels his sessions, and I think I'm going to add this to my workflow, which is he always puts the names of the people who are in the session in the file
session name. Yeah.
So
I like that.
We already do like a backwards date, which allows us to kind of find stuff easier, and that's the start. I think the next thing...
As in year, month, day?
Year, month, day, in just one string.
The superior date format.
Why
bother with any others?
Yep. Which is what they use in broadcast and everything, because obviously. And then put in the names of the people who are on the session. I think we'll just... Because we're going through some of our old demos at the moment and going, who the fuck was here that day? So I'm going to start doing that in the future just to help with... Because that was another thing that took a little bit of time. Probably, outside of that 45 minutes, there were text messages going backwards and forwards with people going, who was there? Who was blah, blah? Who contributed? Was there anything else that we missed? And, waiting for other people to reply. And so there was a lot of stuff like that was that took time, for sure. But then it was up, and that was good. And then the next thing was just, I guess, waiting for it to hit the platforms. And there was nothing we could do in that period of time, really, other than kind of get the proper artwork up and stuff like that, though. You did it like a week later, and then we updated it. So yeah, it kind of pushed out to the platforms after that, and then was the big kind of part of claiming the various profiles on the things. I haven't done Apple yet either.
So that in itself was a bit of an arduous.
Well, yeah, it's just really like I understand why music doesn't get released anymore. Let me put it that way. Like, the number of platforms, if you want to do if you want to make it a nice user experience in something like Spotify, there's a lot of nonsense you've got to go through to kind of do that. Because the distributor, in this case Too Lost, does one part of it, and that's like all the kind of back-end registrations and ISBNs and whatever it's called for music. I think there's still ISBNs, but, all these kind of like... the registration data that then is used to kind of pay back royalties and things like that. That's all done by your distributor. Then and Too Lost is meant to do lyrics too. They didn't appear on Spotify. And there's kind of some conjecture online about why that is, but it seems that it's because they have a partnership with music, whatever it's music
That Spotify has a partnership with Music Match.
Match, yeah. So even if you upload your lyrics through a distributor, it doesn't seem like they make their way.
Yeah, you
onto
need
the
to go
platform.
specifically.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter anyway because with Too Lost you can't sync them anyway, so you can't get the nice little scroll thing that happens
Right.
without using a different service. So the first thing I did was jump on and once this track was up and tried to claim Spotify. That took a week, maybe a bit longer of just time because I kind of originally did it and they were like, great. And then they sent me an email and it said, oh, you need to make sure that your email is visible on one of these platforms that we've on. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I got you to change it on the website. And then they sent back another email and said, oh, that's not enough information. I'm like, but you just said links and stuff. So what I ended up doing was replying to that email directly with some more links and just asking them what I'm doing wrong. And a support person who was a human got back to me in about 5 minutes and said, oh, you've been approved because you're obviously a human who owns this. And that was kind of frustrating because there was no information about that. You know, it was just like, this is how you claim it. And all the FAQs were like, you just do this and this, which is the guide that is on Spotify, which is you sign up for the artist, Spotify artist, you claim it as an artist, an artist. There's an artist or a label option. So we claimed it as an artist. We linked to the page, and then we put in our details, and then that's meant to be the process. And then I get this email going, oh, we don't have enough information. But I suspect that's the same for everyone. You know, there's no clear pathway forward. You know, I just took a Hail Mary about replying to the email originally. You know, so that was a kind of annoying, really, because it seems like it should be easy, but it wasn't. You know. And for me, this is one of those things that is just like totally dissuades you from doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a real motivation sink.
Yeah.
Like you hit these walls and just go, why am I bothering?
Whether by design or not, who knows?
Oh, well, I don't think it's definitely not by design, though. I can understand it would be frustrating if you put yourself in the shoes of the platform. You know, if you cast your mind back to the early days of the internet where people were just sitting on domain names all day long, because you could register a domain name for like $1, and so people were just buying hundreds of domain names for anything that would remotely sound like a possibility for a company, and then squatting on them. So the same. Resisting, like creating paths of resistance for that in platforms like Spotify is, I can only imagine is the motivator for doing this. You can't just jump on and go, I want to register this band name, that band name, and then just have no releases. And then when a band does come along with that name, they go, well,
we can't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in that respect, it's good.
Yeah, it makes sense to do it, but it's still frustrating to have to do it the other way round. Like, for example, SoundCloud doesn't work that way. You just register the name that you want.
Well, SoundCloud has a different annoyance.
Yes, which is?
Even though we've registered a SoundCloud account, the stuff that we have released doesn't appear on that SoundCloud account. It's created another artist called FRIGHTS. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't told you about it.
Great.
You heard it here first.
Well, okay. I'm going to add something to the job tracker then, aren't I?
Well, I've already looked into it, and you have to have a premium Spotify account to join them together.
A premium Spotify account?
Sorry, a premium SoundCloud account. Because SoundCloud is also a distributor, like Too Lost. And so they expect you to use them as your distributor. So if you upload something on a different distributor, they don't give a shit. They're just going to put it on a different page, and they expect you to pay the premium
if you want to access it.
If you want to kind of merge accounts and stuff. And I got a little bit into it, and I was like, I kind of don't give a shit, hey, about it. It's, it's one of those kinds of why am I bothering kind of thing. There's not enough users on, like, I don't listen to music off SoundCloud unless it's like weird demos and stuff like that. Stuff that you can't really distribute because it's got, uncleared samples in it or whatever.
Sure.
That's always what I understood Spotify to be used for. And obviously as a business they've evolved into this space. But their ability to kind of like join the accounts together and stuff like that is not, clear. And which makes sense because they're taking aggregator information and trying to apply it to thousands, millions of users, It's not going to happen, So I kind of briefly looked into it and I was like, you know what? I don't care right now.
Fair enough.
Because, that was roughly at the same time I was dealing with Spotify. So, with the Spotify artist thing. So anyway, the Spotify artist thing got approved and I was like, great, that's fine. Now what? Then I went and started looking at the artist page and the features on Spotify artists, which are quite minimal, I would like to kind of point out. You can't actually do much directly with Spotify. Things that you can do are things like uploading like the cool little video background and stuff like that. But realistically, you can't update any of the information. You can't, like, it's almost a useless thing, to be honest. It's got analytics. Might be better than 2Loss, but I don't know.
Sorry for my silence here. I just saw we had a little comment from Kick. And I'm trying to pull it up on my screen, and it wants me to have to go through a whole process.
Oh, that's all right. I can pull it up on here. Must be challenging both ways for music companies and music creators. This is from Pork Hub. Maybe I feel like it's a bit tough for music creators when I think more into it. Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to, and we're not even through the whole process yet. It's really difficult to put music out there. Like it.
Yeah, there's a lot of admin.
Yeah. and as you said, and as Pork Hub has has also said, it must be hard for the music companies as well. When you say music companies, I'm gonna guess you mean labels, but I would say it's probably for
it's a problem up and down the board.
Yeah, it's
for
up
sure.
and down the board. It's it's the same problem I have with tax and receipts and stuff. It's annoying that your receipts don't just immediately get attached to the bloody transaction. That should be like par for the cause these days. But there are things that seem to have gotten left behind in the digital revolution, and releasing music is one of them.
Yeah. Well, it's a reminder that the whole technology stack that we're building on is just completely cobbled together. Like the internet was built for sharing academic articles.
Yeah.
It wasn't built for banking. It wasn't built for any of the things that we use it for.
Yeah.
It was built for sharing journal articles.
Yeah, and because we're living in this world where if you're going to make a company as a creator or as a founder, you want to kind of get something out of it. Kind of cutting up these kind of slices of the pie into little bits and pieces. It's really hard to pull stuff together once with the fracturing that we have with the different services that you have at the moment. Nothing does everything well. So for us, it's been it's certainly been a lot of admin. I suspect it'll get easier as we kind of knock down these barriers to entry. But I think for a new artist, I certainly recognise why there's this reticence to learn.
But there'll also be a lot more admin because to take advantage of all the stuff that the platform allows you to do, you have to go and log into each platform and set that stuff up. So if we want to set up...
Well, let's continue with the Spotify example.
Okay.
So like I was saying, with Spotify artists, you have access to a couple of little features that are specific to the Spotify platform. When it comes to anything else, like editing lyrics or anything like that, you got to do it through a different service. So because 2Lost, and I'm assuming other distributors have the same problem, can't get the lyrics into Spotify because Spotify has this deal with Music Match. you have to sign up to Music Match. And again, you have to prove that you're the person who owns that artist's account. So again, I had to go through an identity check, in this case, an identity check thing. And then it had to be viewed by a human on their side, or like had to be actioned by a human on their side. So 3 days that took. You could pay for their service and get it immediately authenticated, and I was like, you know what, I'm not paying for it. This should be something that happens through Too Lost anyway. So I just waited the 3 days, and 3 days later it got approved, and then I was able to upload the lyrics. And then there was a whole heap of weird, annoying user experience things there too. So you would think that it would be able to sync the track from Spotify or Apple Music. Nope. You have to upload the track again into Music Match and then do all your lyrical kind of syncing then. The process of syncing the lyrics was quite nice, to be honest. You kind of just listen through the song and you hit play on each line of the lyric. And it also has a few little tools for kind of making them easier to read for users. So it was like remove punctuation, and it does this all automatically. So it didn't like the way I write, because I write with a lot of punctuation because I like grammar for some reason.
You write like William Shatner speaks.
Yeah, with lots of pauses and full stops.
Dramatic pause.
And yeah, so I like kind of let it do its thing, and that was a nice feature. That was really quick, actually. It was, like 5 minutes listening to the song and kind of letting the lyrics get fixed. And then it was done. That took like a week to make its way into Spotify. You would think you'd hit publish and it would be like pretty quick.
Yeah.
Took ages.
So that means that, in theory, a really well-organized artist has their music in the streaming platforms, like 4 weeks before release?
Yeah, it must be. Like, I don't even know how this works with like the Music Match thing, because if you've got the lyrics in Too Lost, and like then you kind of go over to Music Match and do your lyrics and sync there and then push that to the platform. Because the other thing that Music Match also has is better credit info. So, but they don't have like Spotify. I think their credits is the artists, like the performing artists, which in our case would be Frights, and then you've got the writers, which in our case is me, Matt, Tommy, Bree, and Kieran. So those names you could put in through Too Lost, but you can't in Too Lost currently put in producers, or you can't change it after the fact. I think you could put them in originally, but I couldn't do that because we just hadn't decided how we wanted to format credits. And I'm really for credits, particularly with music, because it's really annoying not being able to find who mixed what, and like it's nice to be able to look up who did what. You kind of see these nice little things that create meaning as an audience member. So I feel really strongly about making sure credits are available.
Yeah. When you want to nerd out.
Yeah, when you want to nerd out.
It's nice to be able to.
Yeah, and I think it's important as an artist to kind of
get the recognition that you deserve and things.
Well, no, I think it's important to think about that audience, part of the audience.
Oh, sure, I see.
Yeah, I think for me, sure, yeah, like great. I like to nerd out and that over the artists that I like, but that's why I wanted to make sure that this was a thing that we could do. So, for whatever reason, in Too Lost, I can't figure out how to update producers post-release or post-distribution. Music Match lets you do that, but it's also got some extra fields for like publisher and there's some other stuff in there, and I haven't really kind of gone like, I didn't want to touch that just in case it like blows out what is already in there.
In Spotify,
yeah, that was distributed by Too Lost. And I was actually kind of curious about, I'm even going to just bring it up now because I'm curious right now. I was even curious whether or not doing the Music Match thing would overwrite the lyrics that would the credits that were already there, because it was pushing more metadata out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Is that something we need to test?
Well, it hasn't done. I've tested it because I'm looking at it right now, and it hasn't touched the credits. The credits are the same, But so like you got performed by Frights, written by the writers, and then produced by Blur, you know. And it at the moment the produced by has just got a dash in it, which should have mine and Matt's names, for instance. But it, you know, it doesn't. And then there's a source at the bottom, so you know where the credits came from.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've gone through this process now.
Yeah.
We have a handle on it.
Yes.
We've made a pretty robust kind of checklist of understanding what needs to happen and when.
Well,
Is that right, or is
I'm
that the
still
next step?
kind of writing that. Yeah, I started writing it, but the next step would be claiming Apple
Yeah.
because we haven't done that yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be continuing releases, basically.
Right.
You know?
So, look, I'd suggest that we should break this into 2 lists.
Mhm.
One is like, as a new artist, all the stuff you need to do
Mm-hmm.
and when,
And then
and then a per release one.
Yeah.
And should we consider making these public, allowing?
I reckon.
Because it's, I mean, effectively, we've made a resource that we wish we had
Yeah.
10 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think
I don't think I ever went looking for one, to be fair. Artist release checklist.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, no, but part of it was kind of figuring it out. You know what I mean? Awesome music release checklist. Assets.
I think a lot of the time, though, when I've looked at this stuff in the past, and I haven't looked in any depth either, but they've been very focused on all the sexy stuff. You know, like, ooh, how to make these compelling like social media assets and things. Ooh, get yourself all ready to make stuff, which is appealing to artists because ultimately that's what they want to be doing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't acknowledge the boring stuff, and that's where it all falls down for artists that I've had experience with. Is they hit the boring stuff, and it's this wide world of I just don't know what I'm doing and where I'm at.
Well, there's a lot of boring stuff, and that's the crazy stuff. You know, like that's the crazy thing. Like you'd think it wouldn't be this crazy, but it's crazier than you think. You know,
the layers of admin. So it's going to end up being like a 40-50 step checklist.
Oh, it's going to be ridiculous. I just looked at like one that's out there right now, and it's got preparation 6 to 8 weeks, 6 weeks ahead, 4 weeks ahead, 2 weeks ahead, day of release, and this thing is like 5 pages long.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what yeah. I don't want to do all that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do it, and we'll figure out how to make this. You know, we might spend half a day releasing every couple of weeks, and that would be like doing all the remixes and stuff and collaborations that we're planning on that we're not planning on, that we're actually currently working on, with additional content around individual original tracks. But I don't know how people can make music and do all this stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, being a DIY indie musician,
which is ultimately what we're interested in.
Yeah, it just seems fucking insane.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why anyone in their right mind would want to do this with the amount of work that seems to have to be put in for anyone to actually listen to it. If your goal is to have an audience.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and our goal is very much to have an audience. If you're just doing it as a hobby, it doesn't bloody matter. You wouldn't have to do the whole checklist. You'd just put your music out and put it on Spotify. Not Spotify, SoundCloud, and who cares? Or Bandcamp. At that point, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Is that stuff on Bandcamp?
No. Because it's a different
So
distribution
again, you need to
method.
Yeah.
And it's different. Bandcamp is more for super fans.
Yeah, because you can buy things directly.
Yeah, and I think we will put stuff up there at some point.
Yeah, well, it's great for my understanding of Bandcamp as up until now just a punter.
Yeah.
Is it's the place to go if you really want to support a band.
Yeah.
Because they take barely any fees.
10%. But it's every 10th sale.
They take one every 10th sale.
Yeah, they don't even take
Your
like a
first night.
percentage.
Mm.
Yeah.
So if you really want to support an artist, you go find them on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And you buy their back catalog for however much.
Yeah.
Like $1 a song or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to support them a hell of a lot more than streaming on the streaming services, than buying merch, than anything else.
Yeah.
And so for indie artists who are trying to build their 1,000 true fans, Bandcamp is the place to do it. But
and it's such a simple platform. It's so chill. It's like you don't actually do. I've used Bandcamp before, and it's a nice platform. It's not overly kind of. There's not too many features. It's just chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it means that it is this another item on the checklist that you need to have.
I wouldn't be worrying about it until we actually have some like merch and stuff, because you do a lot of merch stuff through that.
Yeah. Okay. And also just having multiple tracks like this has been the kind of the little mix of stuff that we've been working in, is because we have some level of profile in our careers that is not around making music. So there's people who care about what we're doing, but it's in a completely different sphere. So building up this kind of audience interest in listening to our music is not a straightforward thing to do without actually having music.
Yeah.
So this is the first step to having that catalog of stuff that we can point to and go, okay, well, we've got you kind of interested in the story. Now here's the product.
Yeah.
Up until now, we haven't been able to point them to anything.
No.
So the reason I say this is, with putting stuff on Bandcamp, it's probably not going to be until we've got 3, 4, 5 songs out with all the other things that fall off them, remixes, whatever.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about
worthwhile.
that particular thing, because we've talked about a bit this in the last couple of weeks and hasn't really made it onto the stream yet. But like another intention for our early releases, which is where we're at right now, is that we're not intending to do any of this big audience building until at least the 3rd track.
Yeah.
So we've got Only Yesterday, which we've just brought out. The next track on the release radar for us that is an original track, I guess, not a derivative track, is Waiting Line. And then the one after that is probably going to be this cool disco thing that was some weird thing before that we've just decided to make a...
We're going to redo the lyrics from
we're going to
scratch.
Redo the lyrics and make just a classic disco anthem, basically.
Real Nile Rodgersy,
chicy kind of vibes with that one, and on that track that'll be where we start kind of heavily audience building, because not only would we have at that point 3 original releases, you would hope that we would have at least kind of 6 derivative tracks in addition to that.
Yeah,
at least,
and potentially a cover or 2.
Yeah, which is another thing to add to the list of thousands of things that we're already doing.
Yeah, but I think it's a necessary thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we've been talking about a lot of these Instagram artists and stuff that we kind of engage with heavily, like I can't remember his name, but he's got all the synthesizers and he does these kind of mashup style covers where he'll be like Coldplay in the style of Billie Eilish or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That dude.
Sure.
You know, and like his Bittersweet Symphony one that he did is like all over everything. It's been on so many reels and stuff that I've seen. So like, you know, and I then asked you the question is, why the hell, like, what, does anyone actually listen to his music, I wonder? And you were like, no. They just watch the reel.
Yeah, because the compelling product is that video of it being effectively made like it was being made with a looping pedal or something. It layers up each layer of the sound pretty rapidly, and that's a compelling thing to watch. You know, you're incentivized to keep watching because you know that there's going to be another layer built onto it in a few seconds.
Yeah,
and then you know you do that over a 30-second period.
Yeah,
and then
they are engaging videos for sure.
Yeah, and then you've got 10 seconds of the actual song itself, and it becomes a compelling thing to reuse if you're someone who wants to make other content, because for that same reason that you can be doing anything else, and having that play or a section of that playing is a natural build up.
Yeah.
But are you going to sit there on your morning commute driving into work listening to it? No.
I wonder if he does put them out on Spotify or something. I'd be interested to see if he has these really short
Well, the distribution path is going to be different for sure, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I think
Because there is, if we're talking about sustainability, those things, particularly like I said, that Bittersweet Symphony one of his, has, it's on so many reels and TikToks. It would be generating royalties if he has monetized it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say even a little bit. It would be significant royalties. So I if I would hope that he has monetized it, though. From just looking at his studio, I don't think he's got to worry about money too much, to be honest.
Nice little studio setup.
Nice little big studio setup, I think. Yeah. Anyway, but I do find his content really compelling. And also his chops. He's got great chops.
Yeah.
So when it comes to covers and content, I like that format as something. It's certainly a proficiency thing from my perspective, because it's such a weird thing for me engaging with the social media platforms that way. Our generation starting in a place where there was no such thing as a friggin' iPhone, or really the internet. I mean, I got 56k dial-up when I was like 8, so, well, maybe before that.
Wow, you were early.
Yeah.
Because I only got it as like a 12-year-old.
1994, man.
That's way early.
Yeah, 1994, 56k dial-up, Windows...
No, it wouldn't have been 56k.
Or whatever it was. It did the sound. Maybe it wasn't 56k.
It was probably measured in baud.
Yeah.
Back in 94.
Yeah, 94, 95. It was roughly then.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Old man energy.
That's right. And then started playing Doom and Red Alert and Command and Conquer. Demos. Only demos, because you couldn't buy the...
It was all shareware,
It was all shareware back then, yeah. Games before they were monetized.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about that in our rocking chairs in 20 years' time.
But what I'm getting at is, like, every single day there's a new bit of tech out there that has heaps and heaps of features to engage with, and it's quite a effort.
Yeah, to keep up.
To keep up. And certainly from my point of view, like, doing... It's not so much keeping up, it's the barrier. It's the barrier to actually doing it, because I know behind the barrier is all this kind of understanding that needs to happen, and it's kind of like putting that into my memory bank is quite hectic.
It's culture. You've got to engage with a culture that takes time to understand.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that's certainly something that I've been finding difficult about this covers thing. Not even just the proficiency component, because that's the other part.
Yeah.
The proficiency component in
is
engaging with
your gut feeling
adaptation.
Is I make this song was a 3.5 minute long song that was made to play on radio.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to do a cover of this, the natural thing to do is to
do the whole thing.
Is to sit there and go, well, I want to change the structure in this very minor way. I want to impart these more interesting or different instrumental things for interest and for personal musical fulfillment. Like it's not driven by what's going to be engaging on social media or whatever.
Yeah,
which is what it needs to be.
Yeah,
like we need to reframe that piece of
idea.
Thinking.
And I don't have a problem with that. It's just something that, like, I've been my brain has been like busting into this releasing stuff thing. Well, no, it's not just been doing that. It's been doing a remix as well and doing a collaboration for Only Yesterday as well at the same time. So it very quickly builds up into this, like, overwhelming wall of water that's going to wash me away. So we did play with the cover idea maybe a month ago, maybe a bit longer, just to kind of get a vibe. And the vibe for me personally was I needed to work on my voice a bit more, because I hadn't been practiced at that point, whereas now I've been basically practicing almost every day. So, and I'm very happy with where that has gotten to. So I'm a lot more confident in my own ability to kind of do it.
I'm yet to hear his improved.
He hasn't heard
exercised voice. So
my partner has.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, her ears weren't bleeding when I saw her the other day, so I can only imagine you've done all right.
Yeah, so that's where we're at with that. So so we're still, we're still working on kind of catching up with the initial release kind of work that we've got to do, and then we'll hopefully with these remixes that we put out soon, will be similarly, will be quicker. The release component of those will be quicker, and each have their own kind of proficiency attached to them because there'll be collaborations and joint releases and. So they pop up on multiple people's Spotify pages and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. So, and that's not even, we haven't even spoken about the other stuff that happens around a release. So this is things like social media outreach, the kind of press release stuff. We've talked about what a marketing plan looks like in a broad sense, but in future
Are you talking
releases,
about on the stream or just in general between us?
Well, both. I
Yeah.
mean, we've obviously spoken about it in more detail between us than we have on stream, but we have spoken about.
Do you want to talk about the material you put together around this release, even though we may not necessarily put any of it out, as we part of it is building proficiency for that third.
Well,
release?
that's right. Yeah. So we're as part of, like you say, building proficiency, we've done a bunch of work around this first track in things like what is the kind of meta narrative component of this piece. So there was a stream a few weeks back that was defining that, pulling apart what the emotional kind of structure of the song is, and the things that happen in human life that are going to be kind of global experiences that we can tie it to and talk about that kind of narrative. So doing that is something that as a team we're going to have to keep building proficiency in. So we've defined all that and understood using that as a basis for how we'll talk about the track and get people to care about it.
Yeah.
But in terms of activating that and engaging it, we've effectively decided not to really do much of it. Apart from just building
the stuff just to practice, really.
Yeah. So I've built a little bit of a social media campaign. I haven't built the assets for it yet, but I've built the structure.
Yep.
I've built the structure for doing some press releases, and I've got 3 that are kind of half written.
Yeah.
They all need a bit more work, but it's 3 different angles for 3 different audiences.
Yeah. So
understanding what we can be putting out in the world that will help us achieve our goals in relation to our audience.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of a pretty simple kind of equation. But it does mean that you need to do things like define your audience, define the outlets that you have access to put content out into,
figure out
generate the content.
Yeah, and figure out who. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's what the process has kind of looked like in very broad strokes.
It's been fun doing some of it though. I found it really fun putting together the playlists that we kind of talked about around like Nokia Core and cottage core anthems and songs to listen to at the departure gate and cry to, that they were quite fun to build, because and you would have put different songs on them, I'm sure, but the kind of engaging with what I'd want to be listening to in those scenarios was kind of fun.
Yeah. It's I think it's a really useful thing to do. And it's, everything kind of falls off it too. Like you do an exercise like that. Here's this little playlist thing, and then there's no reason that can't become an Instagram post.
Totally.
And you can set it up even if you do my top 5, and you set it up like a carousel or something like that, so that each tile has that song playing, and one of them happens to be ours. Incentivizing sharing it and saying, well, what are yours? Is like a super easy thing to do, or you do it as a reel that is like the 5 tracks that you cycle through quickly. And again, you just incentivize people to share their own. It's a super easy thing to do, but you don't get to do it unless you think about what your song actually could mean to people, where they would listen to it. And
I've actually found that kind of process quite enlightening because I never really. That's not true. I've always tried to kind of make something of the stuff that I've been doing beyond what it means to me. But like this way of thinking has been really useful, I think, for decision making. Not so much around the creative process because, like, I mean, we can do that. I still don't think I'm quite there with like making deliberate decisions around writing when it comes to audience just yet, but certainly making decisions like figuring out where something belongs.
Yeah.
Doing that has been and actually feeling like I've done something that's actually going to work.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't tested it. That feels all very good. You know, the testing component will be when we put it out, I guess, you know, we'll start pushing the audience like pushing the audience building component of what we're doing. But that needs to wait until we've got more content for people to consume. But yeah, I it's been a really enlightening process for me for sure. It hasn't really changed what I do necessarily, but it certainly has given me more of an awareness of what's important when you get to certain stages of the process. And I'm a big believer in being holistic about stuff and understanding what happens after the thing that you're doing. So, because it allows you to kind of build better relationships.
It just adds more depth. Like it's another dimension to what you're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the thing itself.
No, it doesn't. But I think that there is a like I think artists do think it does. Do you know what I mean? They think it like this is a problem we've talked about before.
Oh, sure, that it like somehow removes the magic. Yeah, right. But realistically, any artist that is doing this at a high level is putting they have to be putting thought into
totally.
this.
Well, I mean, the record label would usually do this kind of work, though.
Sure,
you know, but I don't think that a record label could really do it as well as an artist could because they don't understand the creative process around that thing. That's why building these players lists was really compelling for me, because as you know, one of the people who wrote the song and put it together, I was quickly able to kind of identify the pockets where it should be. Whereas, like I said, even like you were involved in kind of part of the process, and particularly towards the end with the feedback and stuff like that. But this one was kind of largely done outside of your...
I wasn't really involved
in this one.
Apart from some critique
here and there. And so your engagement with the audience that song kind of sits with would be quite different, I would imagine. And in this case, you would kind of be functioning in the record label kind of pocket. So not that that's a bad thing, because as we've talked about, like expanding your surface area, like your audience surface area, is really important. So accessing different audiences through a different perspective is actually quite, you know, a good thing. But to illustrate how different, like, the artist thinks about this compared to the label, you know, or the admin, you know, suddenly you've got, you can understand why there's often kind of these conflicts between labels and artists. You know, you don't understand my vision, man. It's not about your vision. You know, like, your vision's important. I'm not kind of saying that it's not, but, you know, like, you want people to listen to this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't care about that. All right, well, why are you here? You know, like, it's that kind of stuff. So, but when you take it all on yourself, it's pretty hectic. So, whatever.
Cool. All right.
That's all I have to say.
Well, shall we wrap it up there then?
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. So, thank you for joining us, and thanks for those who commented. We really appreciate the engagement. If you are interested in kind of seeing a bit more, there's a few more streams up there, and obviously we've got Only Yesterdays out on all your favorite streaming services.
Give it a stream, give it a follow, give it a like, heart,
right.
favorite.
Yep. So
click the buttons, see what happens.
Yeah, that's right. Click the subscribe buttons, the follow buttons, all of those. So we're Frights. Our latest track, Only Yesterdays, out now on all the streaming services. I'm Josh. This is Simon.
See you next time.
See you later. Gotta stop it quick.
Oh no.
Oh no.